Okay, hi sisters and brothers. We're back to finish up our study on that verse that we find in Psalm 68, verse 30. So here we go. We'll just recap it so that we haven't forgotten it. So rebuke the beast among the reeds, the herds of bulls among the calves of the nations. Humbled, may the beast bring bars of silver. Scatter the nations who delight in war. So the cross references on this verse are interesting as well. It does take us to the behemoth as well as the Leviathan. Now, I said something in the last video that isn't 100% true, and it was that there was two swords. All right, so we'll take a look at what it actually does say. I come up with a really different understanding when you really understand everything and put it in its proper context. So we're gonna go where first? Let me see here. Let's read up on the behemoth. Okay, first, just to have that out of the way. And okay. So remember, rebuke the beast of the reeds, the herds of bulls with the calves of the people, till everyone submit themselves with pieces of silver. Scatter the peoples who delight in war. So we're going to go to, and I also want it to look, if I get the chance, we'll take a second look at William Butler Yeats's poem, The Second Coming. And I did do a video on this, and now that I look at it, I realize how much of it I had wrong. And that's why it's great to study, because the only way you're going to learn what you got right and what you got wrong is to actually be willing to study, to have a willing heart to take a look at the information. And so many of these Christians who have fell into the snare, into the ditch, can't be bothered with study. And it says you are to be approved by the living, you are to learn to rightly divide the word. That's the parting of the Red Sea, this admixture of lies, this Red Sea, that they dripped blood into her covenant, as we've understood. So we're going to go to Job 40 is where we're going to find the behemoth first. And we're going to see what is said. We do get a sword brought in with the behemoth. So verse, let me see. Yeah, we'll begin at verse 15. Look at behemoth, which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. So it's not an ox. It's actually a female beast, this is. And what we realize, it's the heifer. And once we understood what the heifer represented in the Genesis 15:9 covenant, we realized it was Israel. That's a representation of Israel, female. And Egypt is also, in some passages, also represented as a heifer. So we get this feminine representation, and though they want to put the behemoth masculine, it was she, the feminine aspect, that became the byword. So, and that they dismantled the government of God by dismantling the wise women inside the nation of Israel, actually by bringing in the plague that broke in upon them, which was idol worship of a male god, Baal, which first began as your solar calf deity straight out of the land of idolatry, Egypt, which is also going to end up being your Leviathan. That's right. So how do we get there? Okay, so verse 15 in Job 40, behold now, behemoth, which I made with thee, she, not he, eateth grass as an ox. Lo, now her strength is in her loins, and her force is in the navel of her belly. So her power, they're saying, is in the power of her womb. That's what they're saying. She's the creation power, is what they're actually trying to tell you here, but they're saying it's him. She moveth her tail like a cedar. The sinews of her stones are wrapped together. Her bones are as strong pieces of brass. Her bones are like bars of iron. Now, when we're pulling together, we are very strong and powerful, is what it's saying. So much so, we also become the stone that is able to smash the feet and toes on that false image of Baal, this idol in Daniel 2, male. So what does it say? It says, she is the chief of the ways of God. She that made her can make her sword to approach unto her. So, yeah, we get God's sword, word, being able to approach unto her. Though she is the chief of the ways. What are we told in Proverbs 8? Now, I didn't pull this up, and I'm not going to do that again because my computer might shut down like it did on the last video. So we're going to go to Proverbs 8 because that's actually where we find it. I believe. Let me see here. Okay, so Proverbs. We are going to go to Proverbs 8. Sorry I didn't have this pulled up and ready. I just have so many tabs up right now. Proverbs 8. I believe it's 8. It's one of those chapters. Let me see. See if we can find it. Okay, so I can't quite remember. For wisdom is better than rubies. We know that. It says she is the beginning, the chief ways of God. That's wisdom, right? I just can't remember. Anyway, to what it means when you go and you look it up, she says, wait, there it is. Proverbs 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. When you look that word up, principal things, it's going to say first fruits. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. How many of these so-called Christians are embracing wisdom right now? They're not. They're rejecting her. And what are we told in Proverbs 24 when we listen to wisdom? You know what it says? It says, for by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety, or there is victory. Who gets the victory, we're told? 3, 4, 4, 4. Feminine Yeshua. These are your principles, your wisdom. Therefore get wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding. Without consulting the spirit of wisdom, we're not going to get wise. We're not. Without exalting her and her way in our heart, we're not going to understand the way things were supposed to be. We're certainly not going to catch on to the truth that the men denied. So, there we go with that part. I forget. We were looking at the behemoth here. Let me see if I can get there again. There it is. Oh, don't shut off, please. Okay, it went black. I thought it might shut off. It didn't, I don't think. I hope it did not shut off. Let me see here. Still going? It's still going. Good. Okay. So back to this. Okay, I'm in 40. We want the behemoth. That's Job 40, and 41 is the Leviathan. So behold now behemoth, which I made with thee. We read that. She is the chief of the ways of God. God on earth was defined as the presence of God, which was found in the feminine aspect of Israel, which was denied as the scepter that was to be what you ruled through. She that made her can make her sword to approach unto her. Okay, now let's see what it says about the Leviathan and see if we can ascertain who the Leviathan is in this context. Now we know that the contamination of the woman's seed did so feed out from Egypt. This is all actually going to validate it. So what does it say about the Leviathan in Job 41? And it is the Leviathan. It says, it makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron and stirs up the sea like a pot of ointment. It leaves a glistening wake behind it. One would think the deep had white hair. Nothing on earth is its equal, a creature without fear. But watch what else it says. It looks down on all that are haughty. It is king over all that is proud. Upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all things, high things. He is king over all the children of pride. That's the Leviathan. Well, now, can we isolate who that actually is referring to, the Leviathan? Does the Leviathan have an actual name? Yes, it does. And we're going to find that name when we link it to this chapter. That's in Psalm 89. Okay, so we'll go back here. Go back. So Psalm 89. Oh, yes, now it did that. We're going to start reading at verse 10. Now, what we realize about Psalm 89 is it tells us that it was the right hand that crushed Rahab. What we realize about that right hand, it is actually identified in chapter Psalm 51 and Psalm 52 as a daughter of Zion, which is the feminine aspect inside the nation of Israel, not the masculine. So verse 10, this is what it says, and we used Psalm 51, Psalm 52, Psalm 89 here to prove that it was in fact the daughter of Zion that crushed Rahab the dragon, okay? So here we're going to get the seed of Adam against the woman's seed. He is the antinomian, is what he's called, or the antichrist, as they love to say, against the Christian God, Jesus. No. That's why we bring in lawlessness, and we're going to do that in a minute. We may look at that too. But 10 of Psalm 89, you crushed Rahab like one of the slain. With your strong arm, you scattered your enemies. The strong right hand of God, wisdom, is the daughter of Zion herself, also called wisdom in the earth when she actually grows up and understands her creator, who her creator is. So the heavens are yours, and yours also the earth. You founded the world and all that is in it. That's right, she did, the creator, the potter, the maker. Now, I wanted to do a study, and I did the first part of the video. When I watched it, I just couldn't tolerate putting it up. It was horrendous to me. But in that, I wanted to bring in the study of Hosea, a chapter in Hosea that absolutely proves that the creator is absolutely a feminine. And I'm still going to do that in the future. So here we get the heavens are yours. Yours are also the earth. You founded the world and all that is in it. So when I was going to do that study in Hosea, it actually, to my mind, proves that the creator is able to create on her own. And what she creates first out of her womb are nothing but daughters. From the daughters creates a son and a daughter. That's what it looks like. Now, we'll explore that idea, hopefully, in a future video. So you created the north and the south, Tabor and Hermon. Sing for joy at your name. So you see, we get the north kingdom mentioned first here. Then we get the south, which is Judah. God says, you divided my pleasant land. We know all about this. Your arm is endowed with power. Your hand is strong. Your right hand exalted. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne, which was rejected by the first Adam who accused her. Love and faithfulness go before you. She's also the horsewoman riding at the end with faithful and true on her thigh. A thigh is a symbol of her birthright. The birthright does so belong to the daughter. It never belonged to a son. Which is why you get the heavens are yours and yours also the earth. You founded the world and all that is in it. Without life, which is seated by the woman in the very beginning, nothing exists. Nothing. It is from the creation of life that all things exist. That's what it's telling you. Now, when we go in here, this is what's going to prove to us who the Leviathan is. Because, again, let's recap what it just said here. In 41. What did it say? He beholdeth all things high. He is a king over all the children of pride. This is a reference to the Leviathan. Watch what it says in Psalm 89 for the definition of Rahab. Okay? So we're going to hit on Rahab. We know the right hand is identified as the daughter of Zion herself, who crushes the head of Rahab, which is the religious lie straight out of Rahab. What's Rahab mean? Derived from the Hebrew root rahav, meaning to act stormily or to behave proudly. To behave proudly. There you go. We've got the pride coming in here. Storm, a name for Egypt. The same as Rahab, boaster, an epithet of Egypt. So we were looking at the beast who hid in the reeds of the sea, the Red Sea, and shed blood. So we were heading off to Ezekiel 32 is where we're heading. This is what it says in Ezekiel 32. So Leviathan, the number is 3882 if you want to look that up. Serpent, dragon, a wreathed animal, Draco. Look up Draco. It's wreathed. It's wreathed. And it says a sea monster, a dragon producing eclipses, mythological. So I don't know. We link Sennacherib's name to the moon god, who reshaped the brethren, right? He went up, he says to her that sat between the cherubim, the daughter of Zion, who shook her head at him. He says, I have gone up to your high places and I have cut down the high cedars. So if he's an eclipsing dragon, he began to eclipse her light, her sun. Is another aspect when you look up Leviathan, meaning to twist or to coil. So look up an image of the constellation of Draco. You'll get a twisted serpent is what you'll get. So when we go to chapter 32 of Ezekiel, we're going to read just a few portions of it. And it says, Son of man, daughter of woman, take up a lamentation for Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and say unto him, Thou art like a young lion of the nations, and thou art as a whale. See, they love to do this, so you can't catch on to them. So let's read a different rendering. Daughter of woman, take up a lament concerning Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and say to him, You are like a lion among the nations. You are like a monster in the seas, thrashing about in your streams, churning the water with your feet and muddying the streams. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Sovereign Lord means 136. That's daughter Zion's number. With a great throng of people, I will cast my net over you, and they will haul you up in my net. So I think this is an end time threat by the sovereign. I will throw you on the land. I will hurl you on the open field. I will let all the birds of the sky settle on you, and all the animals of the wild gorge themselves on you. I like this one because this is all the imagery. It's going to take us to Revelations in the Lord's Supper. I will abandon you on the land, and I will hurl you on the open field. I will cause all the birds of the sky to settle on you, and let the beasts of the entire earth eat their fill of you. I will put your flesh on the mountains, and I will fill the valleys with your carcass. I will drench the land with the flow of your blood. How high did they claim it was going to come? Up to the horse's bridle, even to the mountains. The ravines will be filled with your gore. When I snuff you out, I will cover the heavens and darken their stars. Look at that. It's an end time prophecy. Yeah. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. I will darken all the shining lights in the heavens over you, and will bring darkness on your land. This is the declaration of the Lord God. Now, they'll say there was a fulfillment here when Pharaoh didn't want to allow his people to go, right? And then they'll say this volcano went off, and they go on and on and on. Yet this is clearly an end time prophecy fulfillment that you find in Revelation. And we're going to look at how it is so in end time. I'm often amazed at what I discover about end time prophecy that you're only going to find when you're listening to the Spirit of Wisdom. You're not going to find it any other way. You're not going to find it down in the ditch. You're not going to find it being enraptured by your bridegroom. It's a mock at you as a woman. It is. It's a mock at you and how deluded. You truly are. You can't look around and see what this religious lie has done to you as a woman. It has put a yoke on your neck, a law system telling you that you are not allowed to stand up for yourself and say that you are equal to him. We see that with the king and Vashti saying, no, I'm not coming for you to drool over me. I deserve more respect than that. And when she stood up for that, for herself, thank God we have strong women like that, the king couldn't stomach it. He couldn't take the fact that she was standing up for herself. She's not supposed to do that. Only he can do that. Only he can stand up for himself. She can't demand respect on a par, on a level ground. No, she's not supposed to. That's what religion would have you believe. He's her head. She's supposed to be his harlot. Yeah. And the harlot Babylon says, no one sees me. I will never be widowless. I will never be childless. And yet God says, I will bring Babylon down. And we know that the king of Babylon is Bel, which is your husband, your bridegroom. There's multiple images that fit that. Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, they all fit that image. I will cause many nations to be appalled at you, and their kings will shudder with fear because of you when I brandish my sword in front of them on the day of your downfall. Each of them will tremble every moment for his life. So is that the kings, the many kings there that you get? What is there? 7? There, we started with 10, takes us down to 7 kings because one knocks the others out. Now, as for the beast, the second time the beast rises from the head wound, I'm seeing it in a totally different way than what we've been taught it. And I see that the first beast was religion created by the Hebrews, the Jews in the Middle East. They come up with this. That's where the first idea of man, father, God came from, was out of the Middle East. And God says, yet I'll take you out of the land. And God removed that out of the land. So it had a head wound. Like it did have a head wound in a sense. And it comes up again. It comes up in where? In America. I'm gonna target America here. As the great Babylonian at the end, because it's the one that has probably pushed the religion of Jesus more than any other nation, even my country, Canada. And I'll tell you, I know they push it pretty hard in my little area. But it's been really America that, even in their movies to do with Masons, they'll show that they brought this great, what is it? Your I forget what your independence, your right of independence here, and really established a whole other system built on this lie, which is the second beast. And they teach that Jesus did many, many great wonders and all this and miracles and all that. So there is that in that. Now, I ain't explaining it well because that's really not what this video is supposed to be about. So I didn't really do a lot of research on it. But I do see that idea of the second beast will live. And the first beast will give all of its power to that beast. And has it not? Has it not? It has. It really has. So it's there. Is it for sure what it is? No, I don't know that. I haven't gone in and studied it enough. But for this is what the sovereign Lord says. The sword of the king of Babylon will come against you. So the sword of the Babylonian king will come against you. For this is what the Lord says. So, yeah. So was Egypt the system that got this false god imagery standing in Israel? And from there, the Babylonian king takes it out into so we know Babylon's the kingdom that's going to fall at the end, supposedly, yet we have prophecies concerning Egypt. Why Egypt? Why Babylon? We know the king of Babylon is identified as Bel. We get the queen of Babylon in Isaiah 47 saying, no one sees me. I will never be widowless. I will never be childless. I'm hid in his heart. That's why nobody can see her. And what the harlot Babylon does is exalt a male to sit on the throne of God. That's what the harlot spirit does. So I'll make your hordes fall by the sword of warriors, and all of them ruthless men from the nations. They will ravage Egypt's pride, and all its hordes will be destroyed. So we're getting allegorical because earth is referred to in two contexts. Earth is referred to as Egypt, and it's also referred to as Babylon. So it's interesting that we get the Egyptian religion is what poisoned or plagued, came in as a plague upon the people of Israel, who then took it into their land and built up this image of a man as God. From there, it's took out into the other lands, is what it is. So we can say America is the one that really is the foothold for the religion of Jesus. I do think that one's more to the forefront than any of them. Then I will let their waters settle, and I will make the rivers flow like oil. This is the declaration of the Lord. When I make the land of Egypt a desolation, so that it is emptied of everything in it, when I strike down all who live there, when they will know that I am Yahweh. This is a lament that will be chanted. The women of the nations will chant it. They will chant it over Egypt and all of its hordes. This is the declaration of the Lord God. Now, I did go in and look at that. There is things to be said, could be easily said about that. I'm not going to bother with it. But it's interesting how all of that ends up as your prophecy in the end. And we know that Baal, Jesus, Yahweh, Allah, these are your male idols at every successive kingdom, according to the book of Daniel and Daniel 2, built upon that male idol, which is why we see the rock smashing the toes. The rock is identified as the rock that was rejected. She says, you forgot the God, you forgot the rock that writhed in pain to birth you. That is your God on the earth. She was gave in covenant to man to teach him the law, and he rejected her. Now, we're going to go here. So we do so see a correlation to the Leviathan, referred to really as proud and boastful, which is also the same epitaph gave to Egypt, given to the land of Egypt, which we also know where current day religion came from. It did so feed out from the land of Egypt. We've identified that. So now we're going to go to the spot. Not so strange, I suppose. We're going to go to 2 Thessalonians, and we're going to read what it says here. 2 Thessalonians 2:7, it says, the mystery of evil now begun to work within, only if that which now controls will be taken out of the midst. So let me see. We'll go up here. And you know what is now restraining him, so that he may be revealed at the proper time. Who? The Antichrist. For the mystery of lawlessness. This is an important word. Lawlessness is an important word. What is the mystery of lawlessness? Is already at work, but the one who now restrains it, your restrainer, will continue until not he, she, and she's not taken out of the way. She's no longer restrained by the mystery of lawlessness, from what we understand. So let's go down here. So, and then the lawless one will be revealed. Whom, the Lord Jesus? No, who the anointed one, who was anointed to give you the law, the antinomian, the antichrist, the lawless one here, the mystery of it, went against her law. So when we go down here, it's going to tell us a few interesting things, because it's interesting that the antichrist, as they call him, antinomian is what I'm going to call him. The mystery of iniquity doth work. Watch what it says here. And I think it is the pulpit commentary that we want again. So verse 7 of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. For the mystery here denotes something which was unknown or secret before it was revealed. So also one of the names of Babylon. Okay, so now we bring in Babylon, the seat of the anti-Christian power? No, Christ is the Antichrist. Christ, Jesus, who took away women's rights under the law, is the Antichrist against the anointed one who was anointed in the Old Testament, where the daughter of Zion has shaken her head at thee and says, the children have come to the birth, but there is not strength enough to deliver. So we know that they were falling to the men of lawlessness. They were not hearkening to daughter Zion's law, to the branch's law, to the scepter, the way that wisdom ruled. And so we bring in lawlessness. We studied this on other videos. The antinomian is going to bring that in here, I believe. The actual word, it comes in here somewhere. So it says, of iniquity, rather of lawlessness, namely, this apostasy which shall precede the coming of the man of sin. And it has. It has. It's absolutely preceded him. He was the beginning of lawlessness and sin, and he'll come back when the daughters awake out of sleep from the religious lie, which is the great apostasy that they're trying to speak on, saying that when this great apostasy happens, then the lawless one will come on scene. And that lines up with what we've understood. They awaken from sleep. They say, look, this made up man, God, has put a yoke on our neck. You have violated the first commandment of God, which was to have no other God before you. You built an idol. Daniel 2 tells us that you built an idol. It tells us that every successive king and kingdom of those kingdoms built on this idol and pushed him at the women, removing our rights to the law, right? That law came from the daughter's tongue inside the nation of Israel. It was not to come from the son's tongue in any shape or form. We looked at it in the last video. She says, what right do you have to hold my statutes on your tongue? You have no right. These sons of wickedness took her rightful throne and authority away from her. We find that in Isaiah 52, God saying, daughter Zion, take the yoke off of your neck and take back your throne. The throne, her throne or authority, was the right to write the law, and that came from Mother Wisdom, whose image she was made in, and the first Adam accused her, Satan, Beelzebub, Baal, the husband, accused her so he could take away the right to write the law from her, so he could do it and yoke her under it. So, rather of lawlessness, namely, okay, let's go back here. Yeah, which shall precede the coming of the man of sin. The genitive here is that of apposition, that mystery which is lawlessness. No, now we get what it is. Whose essence and sphere of operation is lawlessness. Doth already work. Oh, it's been working since the beginning, or is already working. The mystery of iniquity even now works in secret, but the man of sin himself will not appear until the restraining power be removed. Are we sure it's going to be removed? Nowhere in the Old Testament does it teach that the restraining power is removed. Nowhere. That's made up. That's your made up God. You know what it does tell us? We know what it says because we've read it multiple times. It says this of the restrainer in Isaiah 42. If anybody bothered to actually pick the Bible up and actually study it to rightly divide the word, you know what that means? It means parting the Red Sea, which is the admixture of lies on your table, as your wine. They drip blood in her covenant, but you know what that's allegorical to? A birthing canal. When you actually can rightly divide the word of truth, which we find in Isaiah 42, what does she say? She says this. She says, the Lord shall go forth, verse 13, as a mighty warrior, she shall stir up jealousy. And if you're not stirring up jealousy, when you're saying, you're wrong, boys, it was her that was to write the law, not him. And it's not Father that gave life. It's the Creator, the Maker, the Potter. But you turned everything upside down and you told her that she had no rights to her own creation. The Lord shall go forth as a mighty warrior. She shall stir up jealousy like a woman of war, not a man. She shall cry, yea, roar. There's your Ariel, your lioness of God. She shall prevail against her enemies. How do you prevail? Well, through wisdom, through the many counselors of wisdom. So she says in 14, I have long time holden my peace. I have been still, and it says refrained, restrained. Go in, look the word up. And restrained myself. She permitted herself to be restrained. I have been still and restrained. Now some says silent. I went silent. I have restrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. There's your Holy Spirit. She's no longer restrained by the lawlessness of man and his sense of right to take away her laws. She isn't her right to exist as an equal under the law. He has no authority over her body. He never did. Yet he teaches that woman has no right over her own body. He does, under his own law. Not God's law, his own law. So she says, I have long time holding my peace. I have been silent. I've let you get away with it. I have been still and I have restrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, and I will dry up all their herbs, and I will make the rivers islands, and I will dry up the pools. And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. Straight paths. She's going to make the crooked straight. I will make darkness light. You think you're living in light? No, that's the false light that shone upon the Shulamite and made her black. Yep. She says, my mother's sons were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard have I not kept. So you want to talk about the serpent seed against the woman's seed? That's what you're talking about. You're talking about Adam's seed against the woman's seed, man's seed against the woman's seed. When you could say, well, what's the difference? The difference is he's taught her a religious law. I had to bow to a man. We see the kingdoms, every successive kingdom, especially after Egypt, building on this idea of man is God. Yep. And over time, the women fall to that and they hand over their children. They hand their hosts over to the religion of man as God. That's what they've done. She says, they made me the keeper of the vineyard, their vineyard. But my own vineyard and covenant I have not kept. So I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and I will not forsake them. They shall be turned back. They shall be greatly ashamed that trusted in graven images, male idols, male images. God says, you saw no image, make no image, neither male nor female. You think God's fickle? God changed God's mind and said, hey, go ahead, make some male idols. They're all male. We're all male in the heavens. Go for it. Yeah. Well, the tabernacle below was to reflect the one above. So somebody got something wrong somewhere because I'm not made in a man's image. I'm made in a woman's. They shall be turned back. They shall be greatly ashamed that trusted in molten images, that say to the molten images, ye are our gods. Look up Abraxas. That god Abraxas that came out of Egypt. You'll find there's a lot connected to that god and how it is so an image. And it's the image of Jesus, it's the image of Allah, of Baal, and you know it was designed to give men power on this earth over her law system. And that is why you are dealing with the antinomian at the end, because nomia means law or lawlessness. And anti means against. So they were against her law is what they did, which is why we talk about the oppression of women. We talk about the yoke on their neck. We talk about the violence of men, this Leviathan, the pride. It's all interconnected. This is what has created our system at the end. The genitive here is already at work or is already working. The mystery of iniquity even now works in secret. No, not when the Comforter comes. But the man of sin himself will not appear until the restraining power. No, she's not restrained, because if she was restrained, he'd feel no need to appear. It's when she goes forth here. I have long time holden my peace. I've been silent. I have been still, and I have restrained myself from speaking out. So if she's took out of the way, what point is there of him even showing up? He don't need to. Everything's going to continue on. It's when she breaks forth, right, into travailing for her children. That means speaking up. That means not backing down from the lie. That means going forth in the covenant of God, of truth. Then the lawless one will appear, because then he has need to appear, right? He's got to put that woman in her place so she can't birth her children into her covenant, her law system. That's what this has always been about from the beginning. We have male and female. We do not have two males. We do not have three males. We have male and female, and it is the female that is considered the creator and the life giver and the one that gave life to everything out there in the stars. So he said, hey, if I can accuse her, I can take her sphere of power. And we find him exalting himself to her sphere of power, her throne, in Isaiah 14. Is this the man that caused the nations to shake? And he says, I will be like the Almighty. And he did, in fact, become a great deal like her through the image of Jesus, who portrayed himself as if he was in many aspects of his character, a loving mother, a loving creator. I will be like the Most High. I will be like the Almighty, who is wisdom, the creator mother. That's what that is. And yet, Satan falls like lightning. Satan is another name for Adam, the accuser, who defamed and debased her, is what he does under his law system. So, but the man of sin himself will not appear until the restraining power is not removed, begins to move. That's right. Even at that time, the apostle wrote, the seeds of apostasy were already sown. Oh, indeed they were, through images like Jesus, and long before him. We told of him in Daniel 2, the beginning of him, way back in the Old Testament. His name was Baal. And Baal is another name for your husband. That's right. And is also another name for the golden calf idol straight out of Egypt. We know this. Beelzebub, Satan, the accuser, who was accused in the garden. It was the woman. By who? The man. And what did the woman do? Well, she went silent. The restrainer went silent. Long time have I held my peace. She says, now will I go forth. That's what brings on the man of lawlessness to shut these women up. That's what it's about. Putting those little women back in their place so the boys can continue on doing what they want to do. So, the foundations of a false Christianity, it was never Christianity. That was, I keep linking that to Jesus, the idol. It was about the anointed one, the chosen one sent by God, she. And we're told, Job says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above, the inheritance of the Almighty from on high? So she's talking, the inheritance of the Almighty from on high is wisdom. She's also identified as her right hand and as the branch that she rules through. Man rejected that branch, the righteous daughter called the key of David, for a harlot spirit known as the key of Solomon that would build him up as if he was Lord and God and basically hand over her throne of power. Now, we saw how they got that going. We saw violence taking hold in the land and that they would not hearken to her voice. They no longer would listen to her. Let's see. The foundations of a false Christianity were being laid. Thus the apostles warned the Ephesians that false teachers would arise. Did arise. They did arise long ago. That's the snare that you're all in. You're too busy bowing down to a lie, hardening your neck with this lie. Hardening your neck means hardening your argument with the lie. Your neck is where your argument comes from. It's also called your stronghold, your strong tower, which is promised to be restored back to the daughter of Zion when the Ancient of Days comes in and hears her case, when she finally stands up for herself and is no longer restrained under man-made religious lies and laws. So that's what we're looking at, and it's all there. That false teachers would arise among them. To Timothy, he writes of those perilous times which were then present, and in his epistles, mentions is made of false practices and doctrines. They're all over the place, such as the worships of angels, abstinence from meats, bodily mortifications, and the honor conferred on celibacy. So also John in his first epistle refers to this working of this anti-Christian power when he says, little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that antichrist, no, the antinomian shall come. Even now are there many, and there is. We talked about this. Maybe I talked about the video that I didn't put up. That there's actually various levels that these antinomians come in at, right? They come in from the lowest to the highest, but those at the top certainly are the ones that created this idea of your male god, because they knew the power that it was going to bring them, the riches it was going to bring them. It speaks of 7 kings at the very end. I'm not so sure that what's going on right now isn't the fulfilling of the 7th king. Even he is, or the 8th is of the 7, or does it say even the 8th is of the 7? So it's speaking of one that has already been and will be again. So I don't know. It's there. Every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. No, it was never a man promised to you. Never. She was the beginning foundation stone denied. And she was the branch that God chose to rule through, that the first Adam accused and rejected. So it's got nothing to do with a male idol. You were to make no God, neither male nor female. You were to uphold the law of God upon your tongue, which was to come off of the daughter's tongue, known as the scepter and the branch, and also the sovereign Lord over the kingdom. She's called the sovereign because it was her law that was to rule it. And they're also considered her children and her creation. Every spirit that confesses not, and this is the spirit of the Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now is already in the world. It's been here for a very long time, certainly more than 2,000 years. Antichrist does not step on the scene suddenly without any preparations. On the contrary, a stream of antinomian sentiment and anti-conduct pervades the whole history of the world. Oh, doesn't it? Watch when you research women and the original forefathers in supposed Christianity, they could not say enough horrible things about women. I mean, they just stacked it on. They piled it high. To the point that the women even began to believe the lie. Only he that now letteth or restraineth. No, only she. As long as we hold back, as long as we allow ourselves to be restrained under his religious lies and law system that teaches womankind that she is less, the lawless one has no need to appear on scene. He really don't. Okay? You're already restrained. You're allowing him to restrain you, especially religion. You allow religion to do that and a male god to do that, being taught that you are less and that you are under a man and his head rules you. Well, I'm sorry, but I have my own head. I don't need a man head to tell me what to do with my body. I don't. And I certainly don't need his law. These words are not in the original and ought to be omitted until she be taken out of the way. No, until she is no longer restrained. The whole clause ought to be rendered, the mystery of the lawlessness is already working. Only until she who restrains it will no longer be restrained. When that takes place, when the restraining influence is not removed, but is let go, the mystery of lawlessness will no longer work secretly, but will be openly manifested. You can't see it openly manifested. So I thought that was where we were going to pick up the word antinomian. Right there. I did miss it. It is in the Ellicott's Commentary for English Readers. Did I do everything I wanted to do in this video? Logically, so let's read it. For it belongs to the clause, he that letteth. No, she that letteth. Because we're the ones letting it go, aren't we? We're letting the mystery of lawlessness, the lawless law written by man, we're letting it go, right? We're allowing it to be. And when we, like I said before, when we allow it to be and we restrain ourselves under this religious law and law system, then the lawless one has no need to appear on scene and put us women in play. It's only when she is no longer restrained, when she is allowed to go forth to deliver her own children into the truthful covenant that was always supposed to be here on earth, that was rejected by the first man through pride. So then we bring in the Leviathan, we bring in countries like Egypt, and the contamination of the woman's seed that came out of the nation of Egypt during the Exodus. We get the parting of the Red Sea, but she says, they come back in and they covered over my footsteps, so you did not see my pathways. That is the admixture of religious lies in the cup called wine. And it says he placed wine to her lips so he could expose her nakedness and make her his harlot. Now, you can stick man in all of those places, but it does not reason out. It's only through wisdom that you will begin to understand it. So logically, the for belongs to the clause, she that letteth, thus. For although the mystery is already at work, the wicked one will not be revealed until she that now withholds shall not withhold any more, and then he'll come on scene. The mystery of iniquity does already work. Both mystery and iniquity have the article in the Greek, perhaps as in 2 Thessalonians 2:3, because the phrase was well known to the Thessalonians. Lawlessness is more literal rendering than iniquity. The same word in 1 John 3:4 is rendered the transgression of the law, which we do so get in Isaiah 24. So let's read that real quick as a reference point, because this is exactly why the earth begins to be empty of life, because they transgress her holy law. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have what? Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, which was the original covenant off of the daughter's tongue that man rejected, accused in the beginning, he becomes Satan the accuser, broken the everlasting covenant. You see? So that's what they're guilty of. So the same is rendered in 1 John 3:4, the transgression of the law. The word mystery in Greek does not necessarily involve any notion of mysteriousness in our modern sense. So we get caught up in this in religion, don't we? That it's a mystery and it'll only be revealed at the end when he shows up to tell it to us. Well, he was supposed to be the one, Jesus, the idol we're talking about here, that expounded the scriptures to us in the New Testament. And yet, you know what he said every time? He said, I'm the answer. Me. But he never ever broke down the Old Testament in any sense. He did not. He did, however, play, I will be like the Almighty. I will be like the Most High. And he did do a pretty good job of playing a mother. He said, like a hen, a mother hen, I will protect you under my wings. A mother hen is a mother. It's not a man. Wrong. So it does not necessarily involve any notion of mysteriousness in our modern sense. It means a secret, which may be, in its own nature, quite simple. And it is. Look around. God says, open your eyes, right? So it could be quite simple in nature, known to the initiated, but incapable of being known until it is divulged. Well, I can tell you who divulged it to me. The Spirit did, the Spirit of wisdom. Here, the whole emphasis is thrown by the very peculiar order of the Greek word upon the word mystery. It may be paraphrased thus: for as a secret into which the world is not yet initiated, that lawlessness is already at work indeed. Thus the word mystery stands in sharp contrast with the word revealed in 2 Thessalonians 2:6, 2 Thessalonians 2:8. The time for publishing, openly avowing the secret is not yet come, but it is now through daughters like me. So who published the word? Great was the company of women in Psalm 68 that publishes the word, the truth, from the Holy One, the Holy Spirit, she. So we also get knowledge will increase and they will go to and fro in the earth, right? And that is to understand the truth. So the secret is not yet come. To whom then is the mystery of that lawlessness not known? Not to all those who are contributing to its ultimate manifestation, for most of them are deceived by it, and they are. So we're looking at the lower levels, really. We're not looking at the upper echelon who exalted his throne in the stars. We're told that verse, where is it? In Obadiah 1. He climbed and set his throne amongst the stars. Well, that was the Adam the accuser, Sennacherib, men like Sennacherib, men like Solomon. So there's a greater understanding in this heavenly battle and how he took possession of her allotment that belonged to her. So that's an allotment of planets, for lack of a better understanding, which is why he's able to set his throne amongst the stars. Yet she says, from thence will I bring you down. So it says, Satan, fall like lightning. For most of them are deceived by it. So we're talking about your common man in religion. They're deceived by this notion that God is Father, God is Son, God is man, the Holy Spirit, everything's male, concentric. And while sharers in the apostasy still believe themselves members of the church, not the church, but of, the holy people, and they're not. You don't look at a woman and say, woman, you do what I tell you. And I've heard supposed Christian men say this. I've heard many horrible things preached by men off the pulpit to women, telling us that we had to submit to them, both sexually and just to his head, because he was the ruler of the house. So that's a good God, is it? That's a real good God. Yeah, what woman wouldn't want to bow to that, huh? I mean, really, is this a mystery that you can't know? No, it's not. It's something you can know by looking around with your eyes and listening with your ears, and you will understand the mystery of lawlessness. You will. It's called pride. Pride of the first man who accused the woman who was sent to give him the law of heaven, and he rejected it. That's how it goes. So the mystery is known to God and to the enlightened ones, holy ones, not like St. Paul. St. Paul, there's one lady who really can't stand Paul. I get it. I really do get it. So here we're going to bring him in. He was not enlightened. He was, kind of preaching this crap. So to Satan and to the few satanic men who avow to themselves the real object in joining the movement. So what movement? Well, we've often heard of the Illuminati, have we not? We've heard of the Freemasons, and what do they say? They say they will go into the universities and the colleges, and they will pick the brightest, the smartest, the real high-end achievers to join into this little group that they are initiated into under a mystery. What's the mystery? Well, we've just told you what it is. So, though the mystery is said to work, the verb expresses an inward activity. 1 Thessalonians 2:13 and Romans 7:5, like that of leaven on the lump. So, a little leavens the lump. So, has it not leavened the lump? It has. Most are polluted by this ridiculous notion that male is God, female must submit because she is less, she's made less, she's not equal to the rights that he's equal to. She should not be thinking that she deserves the respect that he deserves. Yet Vashti did. And what happened? Well, Mordecai, the follower of Marduk, which is another name for your solar calf deity, which is another name for Baal as your Lord and God, husband, brings in a little girl, Esther, right? And her mother had been murdered. Really, practically, if you want to look at it, mother should have been raising her up and training her in the way that she should go. Not this man, Mordecai, who then takes this little girl into possession and teaches her how to bow to a king. And then we get this king after Vashti, thinking she deserved respect. Then what does the king do? He decrees a law that every woman would bow to her Baal. That's the law that gets made there. Yeah. So, you can say, no, it's all there for the wise, and it is only for the wise. It's not for the fools who have hardened their neck, closed their eyes, shut up their ears, don't want to hear the truth. A loving God does not suppress half of the population and say, you better submit to him, and all he wants to do is make you a harlot. Now, that's what the Bible testifies to in the Old Testament for anybody who can rightly divide the word of truth. So, I'll go on here. Not to all those who are contributing to its ultimate manifestation, for most of them are deceived by it. And while sharers in the apostasy still believes themselves members of the holy people. The mystery is known to God and to the enlightened, supposedly like Paul, and a few satanic men who avowed to themselves a real object in joining this movement. Though the mystery is said to work, the verb expresses an inward activity, like the leaven on the lump. It is not a personal thing, not like man of sin, that which withholdeth. There it is. A covert description of any person or set of persons. It is solely the unavowed design, which is gradually gaining influence over men's hearts and women's hearts. That's why she becomes the harlot. It is the same movement as the falling away, except in reverse. She's actually returning back to the truth. It says, return, return, O Shulamite. What might we see when the Shulamite returns? As it were, the company of two armies. That's 144,000. Those are your first fruits. Also your women. The coarser side of the falling away is spoken of, but here the lawlessness seems not so much to mean ordinary antinomianism as insubordinate to God rebellion. So they did. When they wrote laws and subjected their sisters under their man-made religious law and law, we see the priests actually doing this and being guilty of doing this. In Malachi chapter 2, it is spoken of, it is addressed what they did to the women. Yet is she the wife of your covenant, and the original spirit is how she is identified in Malachi 2 when you can break it down. Now, that's our video. And I'm going to tell you in our next video, we're going to pick up a couple of words and we're going to identify more about the Comforter and what they didn't tell you about the Comforter. And what the religious lie, the feet of the idol, which is your New Testament, put in play by the Greek. Yep, the Greeks put that lie in play. And I think we've covered it all. Now, there is a beast mentioned in William Butler Yeats' poem called The Second Coming. And I did a video on this, and I see now what I got wrong. It really was about Egypt. It was about the religious lie that came out of Egypt that silenced women. So let's just read it right quick again. Turning and turning in the whiting gyra, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. So as we got further and further away from our center of truth, we could no longer hear the spirit calling to us is kind of there. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. So when we were no longer listening to the truth, anarchy come in, took control. We see bloodshed, so the blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. So they were murdering many innocent people, women and men. We can go back to the Nimrod who was murdering the righteous out of the land so he could build up his Babylonian kingdom. We did a study on that. So the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. That's your religious liars who was building on this male idol. Surely some revelation is at hand. There's hope. There's hope through the Spirit. Surely there's some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. He's hoping for the second coming of the truth. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image of spiritus mundi, what is that? The spirit of the world. When a vast image out of the spirit world troubles my sight somewhere in sands of the desert. Oh, we got the desert. A shape with a lion body and the head of a man. So there you go with the Sphinx in Egypt. Again, Egypt. A gaze blank and pitiless as the sun. That sounds like the moon god, doesn't it? Who's blanking the sun, yet the sun grew so intense that it blackened the Shulamite. So the sun here becomes allegorical to your false light that is shining upon the Shulamite. She says, look not upon me. The false light is shone upon me and made me black. That means besmirched me. with a religious lie. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard I have not kept. So he gazed blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it, real shadows of the indignant desert birds, the darkness drops again. But now I know, watch this, that 20 centuries of stony sleep, who went to sleep in the religious lie, were told of them in Romans 11. We've studied them, the elect, the daughters. What's 20 centuries, 2,000 years? Who's existed for that long? Jesus, the idol of Jesus. The 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. Who's in the rocking cradle? Jesus. We're vexed to a nightmare, bound to an idol that then teaches that women have no rights, according to a loving God, Father and Son. Right? That's a nightmare, baby. Yeah. And what rough beast, hour comes around at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. So which one is slouching towards Bethlehem here to be born? Was it Jesus? Was it that beast of a male god that oppresses women and tells us that we have no right over our bodies and all this stuff? Because that is what religion teaches a woman. That she should not expect rights for herself, that she should not expect to have goods for herself, that everything should go to a man, not you. You should not expect equality. It teaches you to bow, is what it does. So if his hour has finally come around at last, and is born, well, was that like 2,000 years ago, or before that when we see the idol in Daniel 2 of this male idol god being built? Well, if we look at that, the Greek is the feet that got the idol standing, then truly its birth was then, wasn't it? So 2,000 years ago. But if we look at the behemoth coming together as the right hand of God that can destroy destroy Rahab, the dragon. We know another name for Rahab is Egypt. And Egypt was proud and boastful, which is also descriptive of the Leviathan system. Is she going to be born this time? Behemoth, what rough beast. Now must I go forth, right? Is she going to be born this time? Well, Ephraim is a stupid child. Ephraim was the female descendant out of the north kingdom. Is Ephraim a stupid child when the time comes for her to be born? Will she not come out of the womb? But slouches towards the house, Bethel. It's got Bethlehem. We know that that was a contrivance. We know that that was a lie. We've studied Micah chapter 2. We know the female descendant, or was it Micah 4? The female descendant coming out of the draft house, which is the dung house, which another name for Baal is Lord of Dung. So that's a female descendant that comes up. So is it time? Is it time for the birth of the daughter? So I just realized I got a lot wrong when I did my video on that. So it's good to always be thinking and always trying to learn something new for yourself and not letting others dictate. And that is what it is. The religion became a dictation to you. And you have to learn to take back your own power, your own sphere of authority that was rightfully gave to you upon your creation. We always want to speak about Adam, and she's just not hardly ever mentioned. Only in negative context is she mentioned, and blamed and beguiled. And so therefore he took control of her head, even though he's got the highly exalted in his heart. What do you think that makes you? Makes you Babylon. That's what it makes you, Babylon. Babylon, we got Egypt. Again, when we look at Egypt, we had the Babylonian king Sennacherib. I don't know if you call him a king. But there was a location, there was actually two of them. I can't remember the other one. One was called Sin. Sin. A name of the moon god, Sennacherib. His name meant that. It did. So it's all interconnected. It was about building this system that was ruled by men and oppressing women, telling you that you had no right. And the accusation that came from the very beginning, written when they were building this male idol up in Daniel 2. And now the stone that was the foundation stone, rejected from the very beginning, which was the mother, smashes the toes on that and brings Satan, Adam, the accuser, down off of the throne and out of the stars from where he planted himself. Let me go see that verse right quick, and then I'll end on that. So it's Obadiah. It was Obadiah 1, I believe, where we found that. And then we'll be done. So I hope I put everything in there that I was supposed to. Obadiah 1. Let me see. What does it say? Verse 3, the pride of thine heart. The pride, there we go. Pride of Leviathan, pride of Rahab, pride of the first man, Adam, who accused. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. The pride of Satan. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars. There we go. Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. The Lord that's going to bring him down is the sovereign Lord, who was denied as the foundation stone in the beginning with her law. And that's what it is. So let me check my paper here. Make sure we got it all. Okay. So we did that. We did that. Yeah. I think we covered it all. Wow. Not bad. All right. So that's that for now. I do hope to do another video pretty soon on Hosea. Where basically I believe it does testify that the Creator Mother does bring forth daughters first, and from the daughters then you get son and daughter. That's what it looks like. So we are kind of getting also with the behemoth. Now I said in another video that behemoth and Leviathan tends to almost appear as one and the same. So that is when he takes possession of her throne, Behemoth's throne, the constellation of Draco, who is now a twisted dragon, a wreathed dragon. From some studies in ancient days, it was viewed as a beast of sorts, a cattle, to some degree, which is what the behemoth is in description. It's a large reem. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And that's what Draco appeared in ancient days, and then it slowly over time, and it had wings, from what they say in the beginning, and over time, it became a dragon that no longer had wings, right? So wings, we discovered, was a symbol of heavenly authority. So what happens when the harlot gets exalted in man's heart? He actually becomes the exalted one. And he took possession of her throne of power, which may well be Draco, which didn't appear as a dragon in the beginning. So, and we know Bel is the king of Babylon. So there you go. That's how you do it. So thanks for watching. I pray the Lord blesses you all with an abundance of truth. And I hope you all have a lovely day. And thanks for watching again.